Tarot Tube, Gwen from Twixt Tarot back with another deck walkthrough. My last one was quite a long one, so I have a timer with me today to try and not take as long. So I will hopefully be faster with this one. I picked this deck up used locally. However, in the space between picking it up used locally and now, I have recently been accepted to become a tarot deck wholesaler. So I probably will stock this deck in my shop because, well, there are a couple reasons why I think it would make a good addition to my market stall, my little tarot shop. And I will dive into them in this video. But the very first one is that this is a keyword deck. So I get a lot of people who want to learn tarot that come to see me to get a reading, and then they end up asking if I have any decks that have keywords on them, and I never do. So I have been on the lookout for a few kind of beginner-friendly decks, and when I saw this one come up for sale, I knew I had to grab it so I could see what it was like. So this is the Soul Reflections Tarot, and it is by Sunshine Connelly with artwork by Anna Novaes. I think that's how you say it. It's very chunky, the box, so it's definitely, it feels more like a premium deck just on picking it up. It's got some lovely gold foil, and it is published by Blue Angel. So here's what the back looks like. These are nice and glossy as well. No gold foil, but it's like little mini versions of the card there. Yeah, nice gold foil on the top and the bottom. But let's have a look at the back here. And that is glossy too, which makes it a little bit hard to read. So bear with me. It says, Soul Reflections Tarot invites you on a journey of personal transformation, grounded in the practice of soul mirroring. Wow, that's a word I struggle with. Mirroring. Using the external world as a reflection of your soul. Created by Sunshine Connelly and illustrated by Anna Novaes. This deck is a companion to their best-selling Soul Mirror Oracle, which I've never used. Using the framework of tarot, it combines intuitive wisdom and stunning artwork to help you reflect, heal, and grow. The Soul Reflections Tarot encourages you to observe emotions, experiences, and patterns as opportunities for transformation. Each card brings you closer to your truest self, unlocking the power to release what no longer serves you. Embrace your inner strength and create the life you envision. See beyond the surface and understand how the world around you reflects what's within. And it also says on the box, great for beginners, keywords for upright and reverse meanings. So you get 78 cards and a 288-page guidebook, which by all means is a very chunky offering for a guidebook. Now I am going to start a 30-minute timer, and we will see how we go. So right off the bat, the box feels very high quality. I really like it. It's got sort of a cosmos feel on the inside. Nothing spectacular on the inside. I shouldn't say nothing spectacular, but you know, they spent the money on the outside of the box. The guidebook just says the guidebook on the front, which is interesting, and I'm assuming that this is the world card. I'm pretty sure it is. On the back we have the same picture and Blue Angel, and then on the spine we get Soul Reflections Tarot. So we get a glossy front page, glossy first couple of pages actually. I do have my overhead lights on, apologies for the glare. table of contents here, and it starts with the majors, goes into the minors, and then, oops, has a lovely welcome, and that looks like the Sun card. So this one is written from Sunshine. It is sort of like a semi-gloss. I wouldn't say every page is super, super glossy. I think the front pages feel glossier than that. So it's like a satin finish maybe. But it is a lovely kind of spacious layout. It doesn't seem like they're trying to cram every last bit they can onto the pages, which makes for, I think, an easier reading experience. And there is just a lovely bit of design at the start of the section for each card. So we do have like the full, just using the star here, the full upright, and then the reversed follows on the next page. I did find that a little confusing when I flipped through the book quickly, I will say, but it's nothing you can't wrap your head around in the long run. So they do tend to just leave the big space after the upright meaning. And every suit has kind of a little bit of a background information. And then if we skip to the very end, we'll see what's in the back here. So we've got about the author, about the artist, which is lovely. We also have some upcoming releases, which is really nice. So we've got the Battley Tarot, Tarot Journal and Coloring Book, Nova Witch Tarot, and the Medieval Feathers Tarot. So this one in particular was published in 2025. So still pretty new releases, I would say. We also have the actual Soul Mirror Oracle and the Soul Mirror Journal as well that you can get, which is really cool. So if you really like this deck, you can get the corresponding oracle and a journal to use as well. Now the box has a cardboard interior, which I'm not mad about. The fact that it has inner walls here, and it's pretty sturdy cardboard, unlike, say, kind of the old, shoot, what publisher was that? The Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud. The interior of that one is super flimsy compared to this. This is nice and sturdy, so I think this would hold up in shipping, which is nice, because, you know, decks, when they are sort of together like this in a box like this, and in the center they act like little kind of torpedoes in the box, and they just bang around. But this seems very sturdy, and you get the lovely ribbon to pull it out. Inside the box it says, "You are the seer and the seen." So just a reminder that we are the cosmos, or the universe, experiencing itself. Now here are the card backs. It's a matte finish, but it's a very kind of satin matte finish. It's very smooth. It's not gritty. It's not rose petal. I don't really like rose petal. Shh, don't tell anybody. And at first glance, this deck does look like it's a black and white deck, but there is actually a smidge of yellow in here on some cards, and red. So it's a very muted kind of palette. I'm just looking. I think it is only yellow and reds. Maybe a smidge of green here. You know, very, very tiny amount. The card stock, nice and thick, but not too thick to shuffle with, if that makes sense. Now, I haven't had too many cards or decks from Blue Angel, so I can't really compare with any of their other decks at this present moment, but I'll just grab, I've got my copy of Tarot of the Abyss just on my desk here. Oops. So I will just compare size with one of those cards. Yeah, I would say this has a much more silky feel. It's not rose petal though, but it has a softer feel than this one. And it is pretty much bang on the same size. So it's very much a standard tarot deck size. All right, got a lovely back design. It is reversible, so if you want to read reversals, you can. So it looks like we've got snakes and compasses here and a star in the middle, which is really cool. It feels very, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of almost southwestern United States sort of feel. A little bit like a desert night sort of feel to it. Right, I will try and get this as centered as I can. Apologies if it's not completely centered. My phone mount covers my phone a little bit. There we go, maybe. Okay, so now here you can see what the keywords look like. So for the Fool, we've got the top, so the upright keywords. And then each card also has reversed keywords. Oops, here we go on the bottom. So for upright, we've got new beginning, taking risks, freedom, innocence, new path, spontaneity, and opportunities. It's really cool artwork. It almost looks like collage artwork, but it's not. I can't explain it. And then reversed, we've got fear of change, insecurity, indecision, immature behavior, irresponsibility, and resistance. So I think for a tarot beginner, this could be very helpful as long as, you know, people use this as kind of like a gateway to creating their own vocabulary around cards. I do think that if I had gotten a keyword deck when I was first starting out, I think it probably wouldn't have been good for me. So sometimes I have tried to talk people out of getting a keyword deck, but I think I've come to realize that people know how they learn best, and who am I to judge? I think for me personally, I have a very black and white sort of style of thinking, so sometimes keywords can feel a little bit rigid for me, if that makes sense. But because I've been reading tarot for so long now, and have really tried to create like an extensive touch point database of experiences of each card into my real life, and how they can show up, I think I don't run the risk of confining myself to keywords anymore, which is nice. I don't know if beginners can do that though, if that makes sense. So some people I think can easily, and then some people this might limit them just a smidge. It's almost like people who like rules and guidelines might have trouble with the keyword deck. But for other people who are much more, I guess, fluid in their word association, or open to intuitive hits than I would have been when I first started reading tarot, maybe they'll have an easier time with this. And I think, you know, keywords can help in bigger spreads and things for people as well. So there's that. Anywho, I will go ahead and start a flip through here. But just a note on the artwork. I really think it's kind of interesting and unique that this feels like a collage deck in many ways, but then the harshness of a collage um, kind of outline and borders is taken away, if that makes sense. So it's almost like they've taken the silhouettes from a collage deck and kind of removed some of the crispness on some of the images. I don't know. I can't explain it very well. I don't have an art major, obviously. So, um, you know, take that with a grain of salt. It's just my interpretation of the style of artwork. But it's, yeah, if you like black and white decks or you like decks that are sort of high contrast, you'll like this deck. And if you're a tarot beginner, this might be a good, you know, starter deck or a stepping stone into discovering some other decks. So without further ado, I will get to flipping through the cards. I love the pillars on the High Priestess. It's very subtle, but, you know, one is definitely white and one's black. There is also an Art Deco kind of feel to this in the artwork. I think the back of the cards feel a lot more desert to me because of the snake and the compass. Kind of reminds me of Tarot of a Wandering Star Tarot. But, you know, definitely has more of an Art Deco feel in some of the details. It's an interesting way of portraying the lovers standing back to back. And you can see some of the subtle colors coming through. This one has a little bit of an apricot to her dress. And this will be where the card back is from. That's really interesting with the eyes. Oh, I do love that death card. Hopefully YouTube doesn't block me for that one. I do feel like there's still enough of the Rider-Waite symbols in this for beginners to have an easier time moving into Rider-Waite Smith after this deck, maybe. Not all cards, though, but some of them. All right, now we're into the wands. I love that one. That's really cool. That one's really interesting too. Wow, that is exhaustion, isn't it? You know, I could see myself using this for readings at markets because I think it's really approachable artwork, and I think that the artwork tells enough of a story for people to kind of get a feel from it on some of the cards, maybe not the knight. That one's interesting. So the court cards are a little more abstract. I do love how they've done the court cards. It's like you really have to use your intuition more if you're just looking at the pictures. Yeah, I love that they've included butterflies for the swords. Now we're into the cups. That's a really, I don't want to say weird, but an interesting Eight of Cups card. It's like, you know, from far away it looks like he's floating. But is he kind of climbing uphill out of a big river? Interesting. This one I thought was interesting too when I first flipped through it. When I reorganized the cards into the suits. It's almost like, wow, look at all these cups, but also the chains are interesting. So it's like, you know, being weighed down by all the things you want, possibly. I think the cups, like the clothing style in some of the cards, feels like 40s and 50s. Don't quote me on that. That one really shows devotion, doesn't it? That's pretty. I like that too. Very cool. Sorry if you can hear the birds. I'm not sure if my mic's picking them up or not, but they're very loud this time of day. That's an interesting shape for these pentacles, isn't it? That one feels a lot more like the Chariot, doesn't it? Interesting. There's a playfulness to that page. I have to say, I think I realized that the king, or maybe it's just the queen cards, they really remind me of the intro to The Crown. I haven't watched all of The Crown, but what I do remember of the intro. Right, so that was the whole walk through, flip through. It feels like it would be really nice to shuffle. I don't really want to ruffle them up because I might sell this. I probably will. And I don't want to reorganize them all, but yeah, the cards slide really nicely. They don't clump or stick together, which is something that I really don't like in cardstock, so that feels lovely. Do I want to riffle shuffle? Oh, screw it. Let's shuffle it and see how she shuffles. Oh, that's really nice. Nice to shuffle. Nice to riffle shuffle. Oof. It does tend to grip a little, just putting back the riffle shuffle, though. Overall, I think that's a solid deck, you know. I would have no hesitation to recommend that to someone looking to learn tarot, or even just, you know, someone who's looking for a black and white deck. Even though it's not a completely black and white deck, I would term it as a black and white deck. But definitely has a lovely feel. I think the guidebook is nice and chunky, and is one that, you know, I probably will have a read through before I sell it, just because I love reading guidebooks. I'm a bit of a nerd on that aspect. I really like it. So yeah, surprisingly good buy. And I'm pleasantly surprised at, you know, I guess the depth of information that they've provided. And I also like that there's more than one keyword, so you get a few different angles to consider the cards from. Oops, just happened to pick that card. Here we go. Here's the perfect crown card. So you get a few different kind of layers of the card in the keywords. It's not just one or two keywords, so I appreciate that. I do think decks with just one or two keywords can be extremely limiting for people like me who like to stay in lanes. So yeah, definitely happy I picked this up. And oh, it's tough. Do I sell it, or do I use it at markets? I feel like people would dig that artwork, but I also don't feel like I would enjoy clients or customers trying to read the keywords when I flip the cards over. I think that would be a little distracting. So maybe it's not a deck I would use for events or for client readings. So I probably will sell it, but definitely glad I gave it a go. And definitely can't talk anymore. Definitely glad to have another newer deck and an easily accessible deck that I can recommend to people who are wanting to learn the tarot. Anywho, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about the deck or when I'll have it in stock, just feel free to leave me a comment, and please hit like and subscribe if you're so inclined, or follow me over on Instagram and Facebook. I look forward to connecting with you. Thanks for joining me on that deck walk. Bye.